priorities today. So with that, I will now recognize our ranking member, Senator Whitehouse, for his opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman. As President Trump continues his unchecked parade of corruption, today we consider nominees for positions at the Environmental Protection Agency and at the White House Council on Environmental Quality. I've said before and will say again, as the EPA lays waste to long-standing science-based regulations, dismantles the agency, and otherwise betrays its commitment to the American people to protect clean air and clean water, every single nominee for EPA merits a healthy dose of skepticism. Jeffery Hall is being nominated for a post where the job, in theory, is to enforce the law against major polluters. In this administration, the intent seems to be to have no one policing the polluters. No accountability for polluters, no accountability for failing to keep within air or water permit limits, no accountability for even failing to get a permit in the first place. That's how you nullify a body of law, without having to go through the procedure of rolling back each permit limit or standard, or go through the legislative work of repealing the underlying statute. Crippling enforcement is the fast-track way to do President Trump's dirty work, as proposed by Project 2025, dismantling EPA's Office of Enforcement and Compliance Assurance, OECA. That office, in theory, works with EPA regional offices, state and tribal governments, and the Department of Justice to hold polluters accountable. OECA helped seek justice for Gulf Coast communities after BP's Deepwater Horizon disaster, secured billions for consumers after Volkswagen's Dieselgate scandal, and won cleanup, groundwater monitoring, and health exams for residents of East Palestine, Ohio, following the 2023 Norfolk Southern train derailment. When polluters flout federal pollution laws, endanger workers in fence-line communities, contaminate our air and drinking water, or dump hazardous waste, it is OECA that should work around the clock to make things right. And it is OECA that should help ensure compliance with environmental laws to prevent the worst incidents from happening in the first place. In short, whoever is leading OECA should be armed and ready with knowledge of our environmental laws, expertise to enforce them, and commitment to serving the American people. OECA should definitely not be led by someone eager to bend the knee to the biggest polluters. Mr. Hall has neither the serious nor experience, in my view, to lead OECA. His most recent law firm bio before he left for EPA mentioned environmental enforcement matters exactly 0 times. It's not clear how much he's really worked in environmental law at all. 2 of his 7 years at DOJ were in the Office of the Associate Attorney General, where he was the point of contact for the Religious Liberty Task Force during the first Trump administration. Most of his time at DOJ was spent in the Civil Division or on brief assignments to other divisions, including just 7 months in the division that works with OECA, the Environment and Natural Resources Division, or ENRD. Mr. Hall then co-founded Burke Law Group, a firm focused on defeating statutory protections meant to guarantee clean air and clean water, seeking to limit EPA's authority under the Clean Air Act, and gutting greenhouse gas regulations that protect against poisonous emissions, defending industry clients in federal and state enforcement actions. Earlier this year, Mr. Hall became acting assistant administrator of OECA and now senior advisor. The actions he has taken already suggest that he intends to make it easier for the worst polluters to pollute. He already announced that the office would, and I quote here, no longer focus on methane emissions from oil and gas facilities, and that any in-progress enforcement actions would need to go through him before proceeding, a massive handout to methane polluters. In the same memo, Mr. Hall significantly narrowed enforcement of community and water protections from coal ash storage, making it easier for coal-fueled plants, to poison our drinking water. During Mr. Hall's short tenure, EPA has already walked back at least 3 significant enforcement actions. In June 2025, EPA withdrew its lawsuit against the GEO Group, a major private prison contractor, despite previously citing over 1,000 violations of federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act violations at one of its facilities. The case had sought nearly $4 million in penalties for the improper use of a toxic disinfectant, which had in some cases evidently been sprayed directly on detainees. Guess what? GEO is a major Trump donor, contributing directly and through affiliates at least $1 million to Trump-aligned super PACs, and had formerly retained current Attorney General Pam Bondi as its registered lobbyist. In March 2025, a week before trial was scheduled to begin, EPA dismissed a Clean Air Act lawsuit against Denka Performance Elastomer, a neoprene manufacturing facility in Louisiana's Cancer Alley. Mr. Hall and the Trump administration dismissed the case, evidently because combating cancer-causing emissions in poor communities constitutes, quote, radical DEI. And more recently, EPA attempted to unwind a $150 million settlement for a Passaic River Superfund cleanup, though a federal judge put a stop to those shenanigans. The settlement, which was negotiated for a decade, was entered over the objection of the two largest polluters at the site, including Occidental Petroleum Company, one of a handful of oil and gas companies present at a Mar-a-Lago meeting where then-candidate Trump offered the fossil fuel industry favors in administrative and regulatory policies in exchange for campaign cash. Mr. Hall's actions are particularly troubling in view of EPA's planned cuts to and reorganization of OECA. According to EPA's FY26 budget request, the administration is seeking to cut its budget for criminal enforcement by 49%, for civil enforcement by 30%, and for compliance monitoring by 35%. Meanwhile, in the Justice Department's FY26 budget request, DOJ leadership proposed cutting 59 attorneys from across ENRD, helping toxic polluters by stripping the EPA of its DOJ lawyers. The effects are already being felt. EPA and DOJ have brought three judicial enforcement cases in federal court since January 20th, putting it on a pace to file maybe 7 by the end of the fiscal year. By comparison, even the first Trump administration filed 80 civil judicial enforcement complaints and opened 115 environmental crime cases during the 2017 fiscal year. Appointing a MAGA zealot to run an office as important as OECA only makes sense if your plan is to torpedo that office from within. I hope Mr. Hall, in his position, can convince me that I am wrong, but you can understand why recent history leaves me very skeptical. Thank you, Chairman.